Southern Lebanon is being cut off from the rest of the country, with at least 7 bridges destroyed by Israeli missiles in the past few days. This is what's left of the main bridge that connected the city of Tyre over there with the rest of Lebanon. And the Israelis have said they plan on seizing all territory south of this, the Litani River.
Israel has been brutalizing the Lebanese people, particularly in southern Lebanon, where they have displaced 1.2 million people, and let the Lebanese people know that they will not be returning because Israel will be annexing that land. Now, the bombings continue, the targeting of hospitals, emergency workers, and civilians continues. In other words, Lebanon is getting the Gaza treatment. But some might be fooled into thinking that there could be a little ray of hope today, as Lebanon's president, Joseph Aoun, has entered direct talks with Israel today. And apparently he hopes that these meetings will result in actual peace, so his country's people stop suffering. He says the following: "I hope that the meeting in Washington will mark the beginning of the end of the suffering of the Lebanese people in general, and those in the South in particular. Stability will not return to the South if Israel continues to occupy its lands." He further tells the press that the only solution lies in the Lebanese army redeploying up to the internationally recognized border of Lebanon, and so being solely responsible for the security of the area and the safety of its residents without the partnership of any other party. So what he's referring to there is the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon, an area of Lebanon about 10 to 15% that the Israelis intend to annex. Now, they claim that they're doing so in search, or in pursuit, I should say, of a security buffer. But if you pay attention to Israeli media, you will see all sorts of Israeli figures, all sorts of extremists within the Knesset who are salivating at the opportunity of settling that land. So how exactly would that be a security buffer? Now, the other thing that's important to keep in mind is that these direct talks between the Lebanese government and the Israelis will result in no progress. And the reason why I say that is because what Israel has done to justify their invasion of Lebanon is they've pointed to Hezbollah. The Lebanese government is not Hezbollah. Hezbollah is an established political party in Lebanon, and they also serve as a militia that resists Israeli occupation and invasion in southern Lebanon. And so, as you can imagine, Israel is not a fan of Hezbollah. Israel would like to expand its borders and do so unchallenged. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, of course, is a massive challenge to the Israelis. And so they're using this notion of disarming Hezbollah as their excuse. It's very similar to the narratives that we heard from the Israelis in regard to Gaza. Oh, we have to defeat Hamas. This is a war between barbarism and civilization, as Netanyahu said over and over again. Now, did they actually defeat Hamas? Of course not. All we saw the Israelis do is go in, slaughter a ton of people, level Gaza, and now they're occupying about 34% of Gaza as we speak. So they have pushed more Palestinians into an even tinier strip of land, thanks to, again, this expansionist project. Now, let's get back to Lebanon, because I do want to explain this in greater detail. As I mentioned, Israel is using this notion of disarming Hezbollah to justify their invasion and land grab operation in southern Lebanon. But the Lebanese army was basically pressured by the Israelis to either disarm Hezbollah, and if you can't do it yourselves, we're gonna do it for you, right? That was the argument made. So if you guys can remember, prior to the March 2nd Israeli invasion into Lebanon, there had been a ceasefire that Israel had violated thousands of times, but nonetheless, there was a ceasefire, right? Now, during that ceasefire, there were some messages exchanged between the Israelis and the Lebanese government. And the Israelis basically told the Lebanese government, we need you to disarm Hezbollah. And again, if you're unable to do it, we're gonna reinvade. Now, during this time, during this ceasefire, again, Israel is still bombing Lebanon. They reined it in a little bit, but they're still terrorizing that poor country. Okay, but the Lebanese army is insanely weak, insanely weak. So they don't even have the capacity to disarm Hezbollah. On top of that, the Lebanese government is fully aware of the fact that if they were to attempt to disarm Hezbollah, not only would that lead to members of the Lebanese army getting killed, but on top of that, it could spark a very serious civil war. You got to keep in mind, Lebanon is kind of unique in the region in that you have a sizable population of Sunni Muslims in Lebanon, a sizable population of Shia Muslims in Lebanon. Now, Shia Muslims are, what the Iranians practice. Like that's the form of Islam that they believe in, and so does Hezbollah. You also have a sizable Christian population in Lebanon as well. And so attempting to disarm Hezbollah could lead to unrest, destabilization of Lebanon. It could lead to a full-blown civil war. And guess what? The Israelis know that. Take a look.
אלון, זה נראה שאנחנו מובילים את מדינת לבנון לעבר מלחמת אזרחים, אולי זה לא רע לנו. שהממשלה הלבנונית תילחם בחיזבאללה.
זו השאיפה מההתחלה, לא בטוח כרגע שבמצבה הנוכחי יש לה את הכוח, אז היום עוד שני איתותים נקרא להם, עוד פעם תקיפה של תשתיות קשרים מעל הליטני.
You got to pay attention to what's being said in Israeli media because that is where you will get the truth. For our audio listeners who are like, I don't understand Hebrew, what the hell was said in that video? Basically, the host of the program said, it appears that we are sparking or we're attempting to spark a civil war in Lebanon, but maybe that wouldn't be so bad for us. You see, with the Israelis, they're perfectly happy to destabilize countries. They don't necessarily need a full-blown regime change. They just need a failed state. Just like we have in Libya, just like we have in Syria, and just as Israel would like to see in Iran and clearly in Lebanon as well. So you tell me, which country in the region is the biggest obstacle to peace? So it's not like the Israelis don't know what they're doing here. They know exactly what they're doing. They would like to see a civil war. And they also know that they're kind of dangling this poison pill as the ultimatum toward the Lebanese government, the poison pill of disarming Hezbollah in order to prevent Israeli invasion. Well, the army wasn't able to disarm Hezbollah, and Israel did invade Lebanon on March 2nd. And things haven't really been going so well for the Israelis. That doesn't mean that they haven't caused a lot of damage to southern Lebanon, especially. It doesn't mean that they haven't killed a ton of civilians, which I'm going to get into a little later. But I first want to actually talk a little bit about what the Israelis have been experiencing. Now, what Israel really wants is land. In fact, they've been announcing that over and over again. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to believe them.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.